Many people may not fully appreciate the extent to which certain life experiences, sometimes the challenging ones, sometimes challenging life experiences can be the most exciting ones, but the most eventful ones. I think a lot of people don't fully appreciate the potential that such experiences have to move you forward and to open your eyes to new things, to set you in certain directions. Because we we like to complain about difficult situations, difficult people, challenges. Although I think most people would agree that even the most kind of difficult circumstances or challenges, whether it be work related or relationships related, so every now and again there's a glimmer of positivity that can be taken from that, and that's visible. But we so often dwell on the negatives, on the things which we think are less than desirable. But if you kind of if you leave the detail of what's happening aside a bit, and you just kind of get a feel for the the life experience that you're currently experiencing, I think you might find and agree that eventful life experiences, challenges, there are other words I could use to describe that. Some people might even say things like turmoil, a little bit of chaos, some drama. Maybe a lot of it's bad, but some of it's good. Those types of events really do create movement in your life. They really get you thinking, really get you desiring, really get you summoning that kind of deliberate intent sometimes to go forward with a plan, to change direction, or maybe if you're even stagnant in your life, it helps you form a sense of direction. And I think um, we so often think we want to have a very smooth life where there's no friction, there's no turmoil, but actually without that kind of stuff, we wouldn't have a direction. We wouldn't have the experience, the necessary experience to formulate preferences of what we want versus what we don't want, to then kind of set off in those directions of the things we want. You can't weigh the pros and cons of the goods and bad unless you experience these things. Um, but if you when it comes to just kind of feeling like your life is progressing in a way that's fulfilling, that you're evolving in a way that maybe you feel like you're meant to evolve in this life, um, these kind of heavy experiences, these sometimes chaotic experiences, if you can kind of look at that as something that propels you forward, as opposed to something that just drowns you in 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 desperation, then you start seeing the potential and the good that comes from all that. And if you're a heavy thinker, if you overthink everything, it's really hard to see that sometimes. But if you're the kind of person where every day you have the capability to kind of go very general in your thinking sometimes, kind of set any um, over analyzing problems, that over analysis, setting that aside some, you start getting these insights. And you're like, okay, yeah, I'm in a very challenging place in my life right now, but I'm figuring things out. I've been given a puzzle that I can now put together and create a masterpiece. But without that turmoil, you wouldn't have the pieces of the puzzle in front of you. So I think there's so much about perception, about um, living the life you want. And we often think that we don't want those negative experiences. But at the same time, we often want to achieve great things. And sometimes those negative experiences are just the most logical next step to then propel us where we want to go. And I don't talk too much about my personal life, but I mean, I have so many vivid right now in my mind, so many vivid experience, so many vivid examples of that happening, and I always have. It's just I'm going through something different now than I was a year ago or 5 years ago. But on the one hand, I could face certain things as desperation. On the other hand, I could face that same thing as the pieces of the puzzle coming together. The masterpiece of my next step coming together, and it's just kind of going with the flow, really, and just knowing what your flow is. And if you can kind of discern your flow throughout the chaos and turmoil in your life, all that agitation, that stormy weather, that wave's actually carrying you. It's just don't drown in it. Kind of float on top of it. So if you can kind of float on top of the turmoil and let it carry you, it will take you places. I'm not sure how much that resonates. I hope that resonates a lot, or at least some, but it's true in a sense that the movement that you need to get to the places you want, oftentimes you need kind of eventful experiences, things that create eventful emotions within you to take you there. And it's just about trusting that if you have the right mindset, you have a positive leaning attitude, you don't overthink, and you're not afraid to just put your hands in the clay and just kind of go with it. You know, half of summoning good things into your life is just perception and positive attitude and believing, or maybe more than half, maybe most of it. And then the other parts are just like when you have the impulses to act, to make decisions, maybe to talk to somebody, to work really hard on a project, whatever it feels like is the right thing for you to do, just do it. Just go with it. If you feel like you want to dance, dance. If you feel like you want to start something new or push the boundaries of something that you've been doing for a long time, just stretch it a bit more. Just go with it. Sometimes we need a bit of a kick in some way through some experience to really get us to move more in a certain direction. And so just follow suit. Don't be afraid. The worst that can happen is you make a mistake. You learn from it, but it probably would have been a good mistake because you would have done it for the right reasons. Just have that courage. Just trust things. Trust things are going to work out. And just trust that there are forces out there that really are there to cooperate. You just gotta go with the flow. Recognize your own flow, and don't be afraid to want good things for yourself and to believe you deserve it. And the path will unfold. It's a matter of you following it. Just go with the path. It is there. Even if you can't explain, even if it's sometimes it's best not to try to over rationalize things because so sometimes our rationalization can work against us. But to just go with it, trust it, believe it. Don't question it if it feels right.